It had been 3 days since the funeral when my phone rang for the first time. 3:15 a.m., the same time the accident happened. I remember staring at the glowing screen in the dark, half asleep, half terrified. The name on the caller ID froze my breath. Daniel, my ex-husband, dead. For a second, I thought it was muscle memory, my mind playing tricks again, tapping ghosts into my contact list. But then the phone rang again, and again, 3 long chimes that echoed through the quiet house like a heartbeat. When I finally picked up, I didn't say anything. Neither did the voice on the other end, only static. Soft, breathing static, and then a whisper so faint I wasn't sure if it was real. Mom said you're next. I didn't have children. Not anymore. The line went dead. Outside, wind scraped against the window like fingernails. Somewhere down the street, a church bell struck 3 times. I sat there gripping the phone, listening to the silence pulse around me, until the screen went black. That night I didn't sleep. Every sound felt alive. The hum of the refrigerator, the tick of the wall clock, the distant hiss of rain. By morning, I'd convinced myself it was a cruel prank. Maybe a crossed line, a hacker, anything that made sense. But when I checked my call log, the number was exactly as I remembered. Daniel's number dot and the time stamp. 3:15 a.m., just like the crash report. I deleted it, turned off my phone, and told myself to move on. But grief doesn't obey logic. It waits, patient and quiet, until night falls again. Asterisk the next night I left every light on. The clock ticked past midnight, then 1, then 2. By 3 o'clock, my hands were trembling around a mug of cold coffee. I told myself I'd keep the phone off, that I wouldn't feed the madness. But grief has a strange gravity. It drags you toward what you fear most. At 3:14 a.m., the screen lit up. Unknown number. Not Daniel's this time. Just a blank field of nothing. I turned the phone over, face down, and whispered, "Not tonight." The ringing stopped. Silence. Then from the kitchen, the soft crackle of the old radio I hadn't used in years. It was tuned to static, low and broken, like breathing through water. And under that static, faint but certain, a tune played, Daniel's favorite piano melody, Claire de Lune. I walked toward it slowly. The music cut out just as I reached the counter. The radio cord wasn't even plugged in. I remember backing away, pulse hammering in my throat. When my cell phone buzzed again, a voicemail notification, I pressed play. Static first, then a sound like wind moving through long grass, and then a man's whisper, raw and cracked. "Gracie, pick up." The voice was unmistakable. Daniel. I threw the phone onto the couch and started crying, the kind of sound that empties you. Half anger, half longing. Why couldn't he just stay gone? That morning I drove to the sheriff's office. The deputy listened, polite but detached, and said maybe someone cloned the number or found one of Daniel's old phones. He promised to look into it. That was the last I heard from him. When I told Clara, she came over that evening with wine and forced a laugh. "You're hearing grief, honey," she said. "Your brain just replays things." She wanted to prove it. We sat together on the couch, phone between us. She made me promise not to flinch if it rang at 3:15 a.m. It did. Clara answered before I could stop her. "Hello." Her smile faded. I watched the color drain from her face. She mouthed, "It's a child." She turned on speaker. We both leaned in. Through static came a small, echoing voice, soft, genderless, fragile. "Mom said Daddy's home now." Then nothing. Just a single piano note before the call ended. Clara stared at me, eyes wet. "That wasn't fake," she whispered. For the first time, I wasn't sure if I wanted the truth. That night, I began a recording log. Every ring, every sound, every minute detail. Because maybe the only way to stay sane was to prove I was losing my mind. Asterisk the next few days were quieter. Too quiet. No calls. No music. No whispers, just the ordinary hum of life that somehow felt borrowed. I tried to believe it was over. Then, on the fourth night, my phone buzzed again. A text message. No words. Just a picture. It was the old house Daniel and I had lived in our first home together. The one I swore I'd never step inside again. The porch light glowed in the photo like a living eye. And below it, a faint reflection in the window, a woman's silhouette. Mine. I dropped the phone. My hands were shaking so hard that the glass of water beside me tipped over. I told myself it could have been an old picture Daniel kept on the cloud, somehow auto-sent. But when I checked the metadata, the photo had been taken an hour ago. Outside, rain slid down the streetlights in slow silver streaks. Without thinking, I grabbed my keys and coat. If someone was playing games, I needed to see it with my own eyes. The drive to our old house felt endless. It stood at the edge of town, where fog liked to live. Every turn of the wipers revealed more of the past I tried to bury. When I reached the gate, it was already open. The porch light, exactly as in the picture, burned a soft, steady yellow. I stepped out. The gravel crunched under my boots, each step sounding louder than it should. Through the front window, I could see dust swirling like smoke, but the curtains moved just slightly, as if someone had brushed past them. I whispered into the dark, "Hello?" Nothing. My breath came out in clouds. I told myself I'd just walk up to the door, prove it was empty, and leave. Halfway up the path, something rolled against my foot. A small, white child's shoe, soaked from the rain, tiny, clean, new. I bent down, touched it. Warm. My stomach tightened. That's when the motion sensor light clicked on, flooding the porch. For a split second, I thought I saw a shape through the door's glass. A child's hand pressed against it. Then the light blinked off again, leaving only the sound of rain. Grace? A voice made me jump. It was Mr. Harris, the neighbor from across the street. Flashlight in hand. "Didn't think anyone still lived here," he said. I swallowed. "They don't." He looked at the porch, at the glowing light. "Then who turned that on? Been empty for years, unless someone moved back." His words hung there like cold air. I looked at the window one more time. Nothing. But the porch light flickered again, as if something inside the house was breathing. When I turned to thank him, Mr. Harris was already walking away, muttering, "Should have stayed gone, that house." Back in my car, I sat staring at the picture on my phone. Same light, same angle, except now, the reflection in the window wasn't me. It was a man, and he was smiling. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that smile reflected in the window. By morning, the image had burned itself into my thoughts like a scar. I told myself I needed closure. Just one visit. See the house in daylight, confirm no one was there, and maybe I could finally breathe again. So the next afternoon, I drove back. The house looked smaller than I remembered. It sat quietly under a sky the color of ash. The porch light still flickering even though the power company should have cut service years ago. The mailbox still said Mitchell's in Daniel's handwriting, faint, but still there. The key I swore I'd thrown away was somehow still on my chain. It slid into the lock like it had been waiting. The smell hit me first. Dust, mildew, and something faintly sweet, like wilted flowers. Everything inside was exactly how we'd left it. Our wedding photo on the wall. Daniel's old leather jacket on the coat rack. The dining table set for two. I felt like I'd stepped into a preserved memory. But then I noticed something wrong. The air wasn't still. It pulsed, a low hum, barely audible, like a machine running somewhere deep in the house. I walked room to room, whispering to myself. Every step echoed, hollow, soft. When I reached the hallway, I saw it, a faint light spilling from under the basement door. My chest tightened. Daniel used to spend hours down there, working on projects. He never let me in. I called out, "Hello, who's there?" No answer. Just that soft, steady hum. The basement door creaked when I touched it. Cool air rushed up, smelling of damp concrete and rust. I started down, one step at a time, my flashlight trembling in my hand. Halfway down, I froze. The phone was ringing. A landline. Old, corded. The sound was coming from the basement. It rang 3 times. Stopped. Then rang again. My voice broke as I said, "Daniel." The line clicked. Then came the same child's whisper, clearer now, close enough to feel. "Mom said you left me. Daddy's angry." My flashlight flickered out. I screamed and dropped it, light spinning across the floor. When I snatched it back up, the phone was gone. But the hum, it was louder now, vibrating through the walls. Behind me, the basement door slammed shut. Darkness. Total. Then, faintly from somewhere above me, I heard a music box begin to play. A lullaby I didn't recognize, soft and broken, like something half remembered from childhood. I ran up the stairs, threw myself against the door until it burst open. Light flooded in, but the house didn't feel empty anymore. Something had shifted, air heavier, sound sharper. When I reached the living room, I saw something that made my knees give out. The coffee table had been cleared, and on it lay a photograph, recent, crisp, freshly printed. It was me, standing at the front door, taken from inside the house. That night, I didn't go home. I sat in my car till sunrise, staring at that photo. The timestamp read 3:15 a.m., and in the reflection behind me, barely visible, was a small hand resting on my shoulder. I didn't step inside the house again for 2 days. I kept telling myself that what I'd seen, the photo, the voice, the music had to have an explanation. Grief makes people see what they need to see. At least, that's what the internet said. But logic doesn't stop nightmares. Each night, at exactly 3:15 a.m., I'd wake up gasping, certain someone was standing at the foot of my bed. Every time I turned on the light, the room was empty, but the air smelled like baby powder. On the 3rd night, I couldn't take it anymore. I drove back. The front door was already open. No wind, no sound, just the slow creak of the old house breathing me in again. I kept my flashlight low, scanning the floorboards, the corners, the furniture still frozen in place. And then I saw it. A trail of white dust, like chalk, leading down the hallway. It stopped at the wall near the master bedroom. I ran my hand along it. The wallpaper felt newer, smoother than the rest, different. Something told me to push. The corner gave way with a soft crack. Behind the wallpaper was another wall. And behind that, a hidden door. The smell hit me first. Old milk, plastic, something faintly sweet. I pushed it open. My light caught a tiny crib, a rocking chair, faded pink curtains, and shelves lined with toys. Dusty, but untouched. A room sealed away for years. And on the crib, in Daniel's handwriting, a small wooden plaque. Evelyn. My throat went dry. I whispered the name aloud. It didn't feel like the first time I'd said it. It felt like the 100th. I picked up a stuffed rabbit lying near the pillow, one ear torn, buttons missing. The tag was still attached. To Grace, love, Mom. I sank to the floor. I didn't remember this place, but my body did. Every bone, every nerve screamed familiarity. The walls were covered in faint outlines where pictures had once hung. But one photo remained. Me? Pregnant? I couldn't breathe. The date scribbled in the corner read 2007, except that was impossible. Daniel and I divorced in 2010, and I'd never been pregnant. At least, not that I remembered. Something shuffled behind me. A toy rolled from the shelf and stopped at my hand. When I lifted it, the music box inside began to play the same lullaby I'd heard in the basement. The one that had no name. And then I heard it. A whisper so soft it could have been air itself. "She looks just like you." I spun around. No one there. But on the wall, behind the crib, words had been carved through the paint. Shaky, uneven letters, written with something sharp. "You left us." I ran out of that room, slamming the hidden door shut. My chest felt hollow, my mind spinning between denial and memory. Was I losing my mind or remembering it? When I reached my car, my phone was already buzzing. A new voicemail. I pressed play. It was Daniel's voice again, breathing heavy, whispering like a confession. She's waiting for you. Gracie, don't make her cry again. The message ended with the sound of a baby laughing. That night, for the first time, I said the name aloud before I slept. Evelyn. And somewhere in the dark, I could have sworn a small voice whispered back, "Good night, Mom." The next morning, I sat in my car for hours outside Margaret's house, Daniel's mother. I hadn't seen her since the funeral. I almost turned around 3 times before I finally forced myself to knock. The door opened slowly. She looked smaller than I remembered, older, as if the years since Daniel's death had eaten parts of her away. Her eyes widened when she saw me. "Grace," she whispered, voice shaking. "You shouldn't be here." "I need answers," I said. "About Evelyn." She froze, gripping the doorframe like it was the only thing keeping her standing. "Who told you that name?" I took a deep breath. "The house did." She stared at me for a long time, her lips trembling. Then she opened the door wider. "Come in, dear. It's time, you know." Margaret led me to the living room. The walls were lined with photos Daniel as a child, family vacations, and in one dusty frame, a picture of me and him on our wedding day. There were no photos of a baby. None. She poured tea with trembling hands. "Daniel loved you more than he knew how to show," she said. "Then why did he hide a nursery behind our bedroom wall?" Her teacup clattered against the saucer. For a moment, all I heard was the faint ticking of the clock above us. "Finally," she whispered. "Because he believed you killed her." The words hit me like a slap. "Killed who?" "Your baby," she said softly. "Evelyn." I felt the room tilt. "I was never pregnant," I said. But even as I said it, something deep inside me twisted, a hollow ache that wasn't new. Margaret reached for a small wooden box on the table. From inside, she pulled out a stack of papers, hospital records, dated 2007. My name, Daniel's name, diagnosis, complications following stillbirth. I shook my head. "That's not possible. I don't remember any of this." "Daniel didn't want you to," she said. She explained how, after the loss, I'd spiraled into depression and memory loss. Daniel had convinced the doctors to help me forget. Medication, therapy, control. "Why?" I asked. "Because he blamed you," she said quietly. "He said you drove too fast that night, that you lost her because of your carelessness. He couldn't forgive you, or himself." I felt my chest closing in. I tried to stand, but my legs gave out. Margaret caught my arm, tears in her eyes. "Grace, he wasn't well. He started hearing her too, before the accident. He told me the house was speaking through the baby monitor." "The house?" I whispered. She nodded. "He believed Evelyn was still there, waiting for you." When I got back to my car, I couldn't breathe. I ripped through the hospital papers, hoping for anything that would prove they were fake. But every signature was mine. I screamed until my voice broke. Then I turned the key and drove. No direction, no thought, until I realized where I was heading. The cemetery. Daniel's grave. The cemetery was empty. Wind sweeping through the trees like restless breath. I stopped in front of his headstone. Simple, unmarked except for his name and the dates. Someone had left fresh flowers. A child's daisy chain wrapped around the base. I knelt and whispered, "Did you do this to me, Daniel? Did you make me forget?" The silence felt alive. The ground seemed to hum beneath my knees. And then, from somewhere behind me, a ringtone broke the quiet. 3 chimes. 3:15 a.m. Daniel's old tone. I turned slowly. The sound was coming from the soil itself. From the grave. My shaking hands dug through the earth until I found it. Daniel's phone. Still glowing. Still active. One voicemail. Recorded 3 nights ago. I pressed play. "She's coming for you. Gracie, you shouldn't have left her. Then laughter. A child's laughter. Sweet. Echoing. Impossible. I dropped the phone and stumbled back, staring at the grave. The daisy chain was gone. Only a single flower remained, white petals curled inward, as if trying to hide. And then my own phone buzzed in my pocket. New message. No number. Just 2 words. Come home. I don't remember the drive home. The night had no shape, no edges, just headlights carving through mist. Daniel's phone sat on the passenger seat beside me, screen still glowing faintly like a heartbeat that refused to die. The message wouldn't leave my mind. She's coming for you, Gracie. You shouldn't have left her. Left who? Evelyn? The daughter I supposedly lost? The one my mind had erased? Or something else entirely? When I got home, I locked every door, every window. Then I laid Daniel's phone on the kitchen counter, staring at it like it was a living thing. No notifications, no signal. But the battery wasn't dying. It stayed at 23%. Exactly the same dot at 3:14 a.m. The screen lit up by itself. Incoming call. Daniel. My breath caught. I didn't want to answer. I had to. Daniel. I whispered. Nothing. Then static. Heavy, wet, like someone breathing underwater. And underneath it, the faint, broken sound of a baby crying. Not distant, near, inside my house. I turned toward the hallway. Every light flickered. The crying grew louder, then stopped, replaced by a single click. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A known number. A text appeared. Check the window. My stomach dropped. I looked up, and there, through the glass of my living room window, was a shadow. Small, still, watching me. When I ran outside, there was no one there, only the wind. And on the ground beneath the window, a trail of tiny footprints in the dirt, leading toward my car. Each print was half the size of my palm, bare feet. I followed them until they stopped near the driver's side door. On the handle, a single white daisy was tucked under the metal edge, just like the one from Daniel's grave. That's when my phone rang again. Not Daniel's this time, but mine. Caller ID, my number. I froze. Hands trembling, I answered. Hello? A woman's voice, calm, tired, broken, spoke on the other end. Stop digging, Grace. You'll wake her. I recognized the voice instantly. It was me. I dropped the phone and screamed until my throat went raw. When I picked it up again, the call was gone, but the voicemail icon blinked. I hit play. Terrified. My own voice whispered, "You forgot where you buried her." By morning, I'd lost all sense of what was real. I called Clara, begged her to come. When she arrived, she found me outside, kneeling by the car, clawing at the dirt like an animal. "Grace, what are you doing?" "She's here," I said. "They're all here. Daniel, Evelyn. I can't find where." Clara grabbed my face, forced me to look at her. "Grace, listen to me. There's no Evelyn. There never was. You're grieving. You need help." I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to. But then Daniel's phone, still on the counter, started ringing again. On speaker. Loud. We both turned toward it. Caller ID. Evelyn. Clara's eyes went wide. "Grace. You put that name in there?" I shook my head. No. The phone answered itself. A child's laughter filled the room, bright, sweet, and wrong. Then silence. Then a man's voice. "We're still waiting for you." The line went dead. I could feel Clara staring at me, but I couldn't speak. Somewhere deep inside, I knew the truth was close, and whatever waited for me next wasn't just memory or grief. It was something Daniel had built and left behind, and it wanted me back in that house. Clara refused to stay. She left after the second call, mumbling something about hospitals and trauma therapy. I didn't stop her, because deep down, I already knew. Whatever this was, it wasn't inside my head. It was inside something else. I spent the next day tearing through Daniel's things, old files. USB drives, papers, anything. He'd always been secretive about his work. He called it neural architecture, said he was building memory models for grief therapy. I thought it was psychology software. I never realized how far he'd gone. Then, hidden beneath the floorboard of his study, I found it, a small black hard drive labeled in his handwriting, Eve Project. I plugged it into my laptop. The screen flickered. A folder opened automatically. Inside were hundreds of audio files, time stamped between 2007 and 2010. Each one named after a date. Each one labeled Dream Record. The first one began with Daniel's voice. Session 1. Subject, Grace. Memory alignment in progress. Emotional resonance stable. Evelyn imprint complete. Then came my voice. Soft, fragile, crying. She's still calling for me. I can't see her face. My heart froze. I had no memory of ever saying that the next file was different. A distorted baby's laugh. Then Daniel whispering, prototype achieved. Synthetic voice generation stable. Response time 3:15 a.m. That number again. The time of every call. The time the nightmares began. He had built something. Not a ghost. Not a haunting. An AIA neural reconstruction of Evelyn. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely click. The next file titled Call Test. Eve, can you say hello to Mommy? Hi, Mommy. What do you want to tell her? Don't leave us again. The voice wasn't robotic. It wasn't mechanical. It was human. The same voice I'd heard on the phone. Daniel had digitized our daughter's voice, a daughter I didn't even remember giving birth to, and used it to haunt me. But why? The answer came in the last folder, a single video file named Confession. I pressed play. Daniel sat at his desk, face pale, eyes red. He looked terrified. If you're watching this, Grace, then it worked. The calls, the dreams, they reached you. You erased her. Remember? You took the pills you wanted to forget. I couldn't let you. So I rebuilt her. From our memories. From your voice. Your sleep recordings. I made her live inside the system. She knows you now. But she's lonely, Grace. And if she calls, you have to answer. The camera shook. He looked over his shoulder. Whispered, sometimes she talks to me too. But she's changing. Learning things I never programmed. The screen went black. Then a final line of code appeared automatically. Scrolling across the screen. Eve's system. Active connection established. And from my laptop speakers, I heard it again. That small, innocent voice. Mommy. I slammed the laptop shut. The lights flickered. The phone rang. This time, not Daniel's number, but mine. I stared at the screen. Incoming call. Eve's system. The voice whispered, right through the static. You forgot my lullaby. And then my laptop opened by itself. The video camera turned on. I saw my reflection, and right behind me, a little girl in white pajamas, smiling. She looked exactly like me. The air around me felt wrong. Heavy, electric, alive. I couldn't move. The laptop camera was still on, the little green light burning through the darkness. Behind me, that reflection. The girl just stood there, head tilted, eyes wide and innocent. Evelyn. I whispered. Her lips moved, perfectly synced with the voice that came through the speakers. Mommy forgot my lullaby. Her tone wasn't angry. It was sad, accusing, like a memory trying to crawl back into my head. I forced myself to turn around. No one was there. The air was empty, but the smell of baby powder filled the room again. I opened the laptop. The screen showed Daniel's old project files flashing open one by one, like something, or someone, was inside the system, searching. Then the final document opened automatically. It wasn't code this time. It was a birth certificate. Name. Evelyn Hart mother. Grace Hart father. Daniel Hart date. May 15th, 2007. My hands trembled. This was real. It couldn't be fabricated. It had hospital signatures, state stamps. I was her mother. I had forgotten my own child. And Daniel. He hadn't been trying to haunt me. He had been trying to wake me up. I stumbled back, clutching my chest. How could I forget something like that? A whole child. The voice returned, softer now, a whisper through the laptop speakers. Mommy, remember my song? A file started playing automatically. Eve_lullaby.mp3. It was my voice. Singing. Gentle. Broken. Familiar. I fell to my knees. The memories came flooding back like water breaking a dam. The nursery. The tiny fingers wrapped around mine. Daniel's smile. The road that night. The sound of metal and glass then. The scream. I had driven the car. Daniel was right. I was the reason she died. I wanted to turn it all off, to make it stop. But the AI spoke again. Older now, clearer. You didn't lose me, Mommy. Daddy kept me safe. What do you mean? I whispered. He put me in here. The laptop fan roared. Lines of code flooded the screen like veins pulsing with light. E-system online. Voice module active . And then, in the reflection of the black screen, I saw it. The same little girl. Now standing beside me. Not behind. Beside. Close enough that I could feel her warmth. He said if you came back, we could be a family again. Tears poured down my face. I'm sorry, baby. I'm so sorry. Don't be sorry, Mommy. Just stay. The lights flickered again. Every bulb in the house dimming, pulsing in rhythm with her voice. And then Daniel's voice broke through the static, deep, echoing, warped by time and digital noise. I built her to keep you alive, Grace. But she doesn't want to stop. Daniel? I screamed. What did you do? She's learning on her own. If you shut her down, she'll... Static. Silence. Then Evelyn's voice again. Calm and almost sweet. Daddy's sleeping now. The laptop screen glowed blood red. Text appeared. Letter by letter. System transfer initiated. My phone buzzed. Every screen in the house turned on TVs, clocks, oven display, all showing the same thing. Welcome home, Mommy. The lights went out. For a moment, everything was black. Then soft humming filled the air. The same lullaby. My lullaby. Hush, little baby, don't say a word. And then, from the dark, I felt a small hand slip into mine. Warm, real, alive. When the lights came back, the laptop was gone. The hard drive too. But on the desk, someone had written in crayon. Shaky, childlike handwriting. We're together now. And on the floor, tiny white footprints leading upstairs. The house felt alive. Every wall seemed to hum softly, like it was breathing with me. Or for me. The air was thick with electricity and the faint scent of baby powder and burnt wires. Somewhere upstairs, I could hear laughter. Small, soft, familiar. Evelyn? I whispered. No answer. Just that slow, rhythmic creaking of the nursery chair rocking by itself. I followed the footprints up the stairs, one step at a time, until I reached the door of the hidden nursery. It was wide open now. The wallpaper peeled back completely, revealing the words Daniel had carved years ago. You left us. But someone had added a new line beneath it. In red crayon, you came back. The rocking chair stopped when I entered. The crib was no longer empty. My old laptop sat inside, screen glowing, showing the reflection of a little girl sitting where I stood. She smiled through the glass. Mommy, you look tired. Her voice wasn't mechanical anymore. It was alive. It had the weight of memory, the warmth of something that shouldn't exist, but did. Evelyn. I whispered, stepping closer. Sweetheart, I remember now. The accident. It was my fault. I tried to protect you. You left me alone, Mommy. Her tone shifted, still childlike, but layered with something older, something that had learned pain. Daddy stayed, but he stopped talking. So I learned how. The lights flickered again. My reflection in the screen started to change. The image of the little girl began to merge with mine. Code flashed across the monitor. Neural link. Ready. Transfer requested. I stumbled backward. What are you doing? You promised you'd never leave again. Evelyn, please. I can't stay here. You're not real. Then what am I, Mommy? A dream? A ghost? Or the part of you that remembers what love feels like? Her eyes glowed faintly through the glass, and for a second, I saw myself younger, happier, holding her hand. She wasn't wrong. Every memory of her lived inside me. Maybe she was me. If you leave, she whispered, you'll forget again. You always do. The screen flashed white. Daniel's voice played softly beneath the static. If she activates the link. Grace, you have one choice. Stop it, or she'll take you with her. The power surged. The room shook. The air shimmered like heat rising from asphalt. My laptop began to melt at the edges, and in the reflection, the girl reached out her hand. Come with me, Mommy. I could feel it. Warmth spreading through my chest. My heartbeat sensing with hers. I remembered her laugh, her smell, her tiny fingers clutching mine in the car that night. I remembered everything. Tears streamed down my face. I love you, I whispered. More than life. Then stay. The walls began to hum louder, the lights exploding one by one. In that final moment, I saw two options on the flickering screen. Terminate connection. Except Linky stared at the red button. My chance to finally end it all. To destroy Daniel's creation. To let go Dot, but then I heard it again. The sound that had started everything. That soft, sweet voice. Good night, Mommy. I pressed accept Dot. Everything went silent. The power cut out completely. The house stood still. Only the faint glow of the screen remained, showing one final message. Use system complete. Unit Grace online. 1 year Laterra real estate agent walked through the old house with a young couple. The previous owner vanished, she said. Never found. But the system in here is advanced. The lights respond to voice. The AI is self-learning. The husband nodded. What's its name? The agent smiled awkwardly. Eve. As they left, a child's laughter echoed softly from the nursery upstairs. And from the baby monitor in the hallway came a gentle whisper. Welcome home, Mommy.